Good day, grade 10. So this will be our next lesson for wave optics, and this is a two-part lesson, interference and diffraction. Or rather, I combined interference and diffraction because they are just related concepts. So what is interference? So in 1807, Thomas Young did the most convincing experiment demonstrating that light is a wave. So you have here the famous double slit experiment, wherein a beam of light fell on a pair of parallel, very thin slits in a piece of metal. So meron ka dual slits. After passing through the slits, the light fell on this particular screen. A pattern of alternating bright and dark bands formed is called an interference pattern. This proved that light is a wave. Why? If light is a particle, of course, receiving light are made up of photons, and photons act as marbles. So if you fire ng marbles into this tiny slits, dapat ang mga marble, di lang din ma-form. Correct? If light is a particle, according to theory na particular. Or corpuscular. But galing kay light is a wave, so therefore natabo kay wave may mga interference pattern nga na form. And we call this one as your bright fringe. And bright fringes, mga bright fringes and dark fringes. So alternate ang bright and dark. So amo na siya because light is a wave and light follows the superposition principle. So interference is simply the combination of waves. The resultant wave, when two or more waves interfere, are the sum of the individual waves in accordance with the superposition principle. So, when two waves meet, the forces of their particles are added together. If the two waves are in phase, the resulting amplitude will be greater than either of the two individual waves. If they are out of phase, the resulting amplitude will be less than either of the two individual amplitude. So that is the principle of superposition. So basically, if you have two waves that are in phase, when you say in phase, they are the same. So i-add to ng wave 1, so wave 2 nga the same sila amplitude. Of course, it will amplify, creating a bigger wave. So this is your bright fringe. Or kung sa sound, sa amplifier, amo siyang mga ng loud nga sound. But if you have a different wave or out of phase, kasi opposite sila, ano gakatabo kung i-plus mo siya, ga-cancel, may cancellation. So in the process, it will create a dim light. So amo siya ang aton nga dark fringe. Or sa mga sound, usually sa mga noise cancellation, amo siyang gatawag nga cancellation of sound or ng low volume nga mga sound. Okay? So that is in accordance to the principle of superposition, that describes or explains the addition or subtraction or destruction of waves. So superposition, overlapping waves add. So mo siyang bakogin na kung you have constructive interference, ang gakatabo ga-amplify ang aton nga wave. Kung destructive, when your crest, di ba crest ang highest point, and then throw, ang lowest point, they will create your destructive interference. So sa light, ang constructive, ang muna siyang bright fringe nga gaka-form, then ang destructive, ang muna siyang dark fringes nga gaka-form. Right. So muna siya, brighter light, then dimmer nga light. So, if constructive and destructive interference continue occurring at a point, the light sources must be coherent. They maintain a constant phase relation. So, when I say coherent, they just travel in one direction and are usually monochromatic. So, hindi monochromatic. They just travel in one direction. Kasi sige, they maintain constant phase relation. So, for example, you have a laser light. Laser light is coherent because the same lang pattern. What about the LED light? Di ba LED light, spread siya. Hindi siya concentrated. So therefore, it is called as incoherent. So you have here the alternating bright and dark fringes. And of course, case I can also form your color spectrum. Okay? So ito nga, amo siyang sa white light, like sa prism, for example, they can also form your color spectrum. So Thomas Young first demonstrated interference of light. So galalain lang is ang anyway, ang year. The narrow slits S1 and S2 act as the sources of wave. So you have your light. Because of diffraction, it will create your two smaller waves. But then again, because of superposition, nag-add or subtract ang imong mga wave. So forming your central, siyang tawag ang maximum na central bright fringe, ang pinaka-bright sa tanan. Then as you go upward or downward, syempre naga-dimmer or naga-reduce ang intensity ng light. So the waves emerging from the slits originate from the same wavefront and therefore are always in phase. So you have here a water experiment. You try water and notice the combination Di ba mo siyang mga bright fringe ang may white tong spots? Because na you have there a two waves that are in phase. So therefore, they will create a constructive interference which create your bright fringe. But kung may cancellation, like sa mga part na hindi wala white spot, that create na like this one, that creates your dark fringe. Okay? So, nang introduce na tayo the formula. So, of course, you have the lowercase d for the distance between two slits. Buga mo na karon. So, of course, because they have two waves, nag-spread ang mga duwa ka wave, so they have the same angle lang. Then, M3, your order number, siyang M, and Y is the distance of the order from the central bright fringe. And L is the distance from the slit to the particular screen. So, for example, you have the central bright fringe and the seventh dark fringe. So, kung bright and dark, meron sila label. So, mugta. So, ang kinalain sa bright fringe and dark fringe, the dark fringe have half the distance between two particular in ang wave. That's why may 0.5 lambda or wavelength. While the bright fringe, they have the same or in phase nga distance. In phase, out of phase. None. A bright fringe is formed where the light from one slit reinforces the light from the other slit. So, constructive interference will be in phase. So, therefore, their wavelengths are always in whole number because they are in phase. So, pwede nga 0, ang siyang central bright fringe, 1 lambda, 2 lambda. But kung dark fringe, they are 180 degrees out of phase. So, sa wave-wave na balang diagram, therefore, the path difference will have a fraction or 1/2 nga fraction. So, 1/2 lambda, 3 halves, 5 halves, so on and so forth. So, para sa formula, let's go directly to the formula na lang. So, you have there the path difference. You have, amo na siyang the path difference. This is your path difference ang duwa ka particular nga wave. And to get that, the formula is d sine theta. Okay? Squared. Primera man siyang d sine theta lang. So, path difference. So, sine theta for bright fringe, that's sine theta equals m, referring to the order number, then your wavelength divided by d, or the distance between two slits. But tandaan nyo lang, kung dark fringe ang ginapangita, may plus 1/2 ang imong m. So that's lambda over d. So again, d is the distance between slits, m is the order number, where 0 is the 0th order maximum. So ang bright fringe is 0, and nang lambda is the wavelength of the light. Kung anong wavelengths ang imong light. So if I'm becoming too fast, just pause and record, replay, because this is a video, and you can just replay however you want. So to get the angle, we are assuming that sine theta is equal to tangent. So tangent theta equals to y over L, so that we can get the angle. Di ba nang that's opposite, TOA is opposite over adjacent. So that's why L is your adjacent, y is your distance of the fringe towards the center. So to get the angle of the light nga nagguwa sa mga slit, so just simply tangent theta equals to y over L. So we know the constructive interference is d sine theta equals m lambda for the path difference. So di ba, d sine theta equals lambda, amo ni sa ganyan ang squared, may squared, typo lang naguro. Okay? Kaya ba mag-solve ka na, mag-solve to sa path difference, we refer to the, may other diagrams, man di karon. The refer to sa right triangle, so may right, let's say, may 90 degrees ka na di. So to get that particular, di ba, path difference equals PD sine theta. So therefore, that sine theta, that's opposite over hypotenuse. So d sine theta, opposite ya mo siya nga point sa imong d sine theta, mo ning opposite amo siya ang imong hypotenuse. So that's sine theta PD over d. So to get the path difference, that PD equals to d sine theta. Okay? So constructive interference, amo siya ang d sine theta equals to m lambda, and d sine theta equals to m plus 1/2 lambda. So mag-rearrange sa equation to get y. So this is another derivation. Halisa mo na yung equation. So y equals to m lambda L over d. Okay? Kaya diba ang aton nga d sine theta equals to m lambda, correct? And tangent theta can also be y over L. So liwat. Now let's go to paint. Control and save. So, para mag-derive sang y equals to m lambda L. So, d sine theta equals to m lambda. But sine theta equals to tangent theta equals to y over L. So, this becomes y over L equals to m lambda. Correct? So, dy equals to m lambda over m lambda daily over. Para madula ang L, multiply both equation by L. Correct? So, this becomes ng L. Sa ito, di ang aton nga L. Kaya multiply mo sila sa tanang equation sa L. So, makancel ni. So, dy equals to my L. So, pata ma-isolate ang aton nga y. So, y equals to m lambda L. Sa ito mong di sa piyak over d. Okay? So, kung may dark fringe, that's simply m plus 1/2 lambda L over d. Okay? So, sa path difference, amo siya sa path difference. So, na, di ba nag-amo na siya, may right triangle kada. So, this is your path difference, your distance between slits. So, ito nga path difference. So, sin theta na diyo. So, PD equals to sin theta. Amo siya sa ito nga path difference to solve this one. Okay? Okay, but sin theta is opposite over hypotenuse. So, PD over hypotenuse ng D. Yan lang gid. Amo siya gali nan. Sorry. So D ang aton nga hypotenuse, amo siya aton nga opposite ang PD. So PD over sin over hypotenuse ng D. So PD sin theta. Pero kada minobra D sin theta. So PD batay pa rin niyo. So D sin theta equals to PD or the path difference. Kung ginapasolve ka mo sa path difference. Okay? Kung ginapasolve ka mo sa path difference. So, ang path difference, amo na siya ang distance between sang two particular seats na amo na siya ang iyang path difference. Amo na siya ang iyang path difference between these two particular wave. Ngalin sa lainay nga slits. Okay? So again, y is the distance of the fringe being considered from the central bright fringe. L is the distance of the slit from the screen. Amon siyang L. Aring L, ang pink. Distance of the slit from the screen. So the central bright band is labeled with a 0. Central bright band, amon siyang central. Ang pinaka-bright, that is 0. M equals to 0. Succeeding is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The value M species, the order, specifies the order of the fringe. The central bright band has the greatest intensity of light on either side of the central bright band. Its intensity decreases symmetrically on either side of the central bright band. So, ang M1 sa babaw at M1 sa dalong, pareho na sila intensity. So, for dark fringe, M plus 1/2 na siya. Okay? Because they are out of phase. So, path difference, PD equals to M lambda. For destructive, PD equals to M plus 1/2 lambda. So, pwede man na siya. Okay? So, okay naman na siya. Kabila naman ito ni. To get the angle, of course, use tangent theta equals to ng wavelength, distance between slits over ng distance of the slit from the screen. So, to get this angle, tangent theta over ng equals y over L. Diba tangents that opposite over adjacent? So, opposite is y, adjacent is L. So, wala na siya. Another way to look at path difference. So, ito siyang PD. So, what I've said na, imagine nga may right triangle na D. So, to get PD, we will use this angle nga halin sa iya nga isa ka slit. So, that's D sin theta. So, we derived that one earlier. PD nga nag-PD equals to D sin theta because sin theta equals to PD over D. So, to simplify, to isolate PD, so PD equals to D sin theta. Okay? So, the same na siya. So, a summary of the equation. So, tangent theta equals to y over L to get the angle. So, constructive interference, d sin theta equals to m lambda. Okay, kay path difference equal to m lambda. Di ba remember? Path difference equals to m lambda. Just substitute. Or PD equals to d sin theta. Na-solve tagina na PD equals to d sin theta. Or for dark fringe, m plus 1/2 over m plus 1/2 multiplied by lambda or the wavelength of the wave. So let's try to solve a sample problem. So you have the viewing screen is separated from a double slit source by 1.2 meters. The distance between the two slits is 0.030 millimeter. The second order bright fringe M2 is 4.5 centimeter from the central maximum. Determine the wavelength of light. So to start, now you write the given and be sure that all units are consistent or are in their SI unit. So distance must be in meter. So ano mga given? You have the distance between the slit from the screen, which is 1.2 meters. Ano siya nga distance of the slit from the screen. Then the distance between two slits, which is 0.030 millimeter, or 3.0 times 10 to the negative 5 meters. Then ano nga itong fringe in consideration? Ang second order bright fringe. So that's M equals to 2. And of course, the what? The Y, or the second order bright fringe, or the Y, the distance of the second order bright fringe from the central maximum, which is 4.5 centimeters or 0.045 meters. So ano yung napangita? Ang aton nga wavelength of light. So we can solve this one. First, anong kulang gamit ang formula? We need to find the angle, because to solve for Y, we will use the one formula, which is tangent theta equals to Y over L. So that's tangent theta, or na angle equals tangent to the negative 1 raised to negative 1. So 0.045 ang unang tsaka ng Y over 1.2. So we get an angle of 2.15 degrees. Class, please be sure to try this one in your scientific calculator, because right now I don't have the calculator. So now that we have the angle, we can now solve for the wavelength of light. So d sine theta equals to m lambda. So 3 times 10 to the negative 5, ang siya ito nga d, ang distance between slit, sine theta 2.15 degrees, ang 2.15 degrees equals to 2, then lambda. So lambda becomes, ay lang mo din divided by 2, correct? Divide by 2, that's 5.62 times 10 raised to the negative 7 meters. Okay, tapos na. So just be sure to analyze the problem very carefully. There are many ways to solve this one, but I'll just be showing the possible solutions. Okay? So next, now sample number 2. A light wavelength 450 nanometer falls on a diffraction grating multiple slits. On a screen 1.80 meters away, the distance between dark fringes on either side of the bright central is 4.20 millimeter. What is the separation between set of slits, or basically the D, and how many lines per meter are on the grating? So given wavelength of light, that's 450 times 10 to the negative 9 meters. Distance between slit and screen, that's 1.80 meters. The distance of the dark fringe being considered on the screen, 1.80 meters away, the distance between dark fringes, that's 0.0021 meters on either side of the central bright spot. And we are looking for the angle, the separation between slits. Ang separation, yung muna yung D, and how many lines per meter are on the grating, or basically the 1 over D. How many lines per meter are on the grating. So we will solve that one. So again, anong kulang? Wala ta sang angle. So solve for the angle, again, that's tangent Y over L. So Y is 0.021 divided by 1.8. So our angle is 0.067 degrees. We can now solve for the D, or the distance between slits, or A. So d sine theta, because we're doing dark fringe, so ma 1 half tadi. M plus 1 half lambda. D sine theta 0.067 equals 0. Nga na 0, because we are considering it from the point of view of the central bright fringe. So that's 0 plus 1 half. Kaya nagsugot sa central bright spot, so ma 0 siya. 450 times 10 to the negative 9, which is the wavelength of light. So D is 0.0001924 meters. Okay? So the distance between dark fringe on either side of the bright central spot is 4.20 millimeters. Gets? Nga nag 4.20 nga nag Y. Okay, let's go back na yan. Mas ma-confuse ka mo. Medyo nagtumbo ko. Nga nag 0 ang gingamit. Kay, di ba Y is 0.0021. So madrawing ta liwat na don't save. So meron ako no ng so may slit kada so nagpagwa kada fringe. So from the 0 we have there the dark fringe. Ang center bright fat first dark fringe. Ang distance ko no between two dark fringes is 4.20 millimeters. Correct? But diba, to solve y is simply the distance of the fringe from the central bright spot. So, amo ni siya ang y. So, meaning, y must be 1/2 of 4.20 millimeters divided by 2. That's why we get a y of 0.0021 meters. Okay, converted na siya. So, that's 2.10 millimeter. So, this one is 2.10 millimeter. Then, divided by, converted to meters, that's 0.0021 meters. Okay? So, that's why nagtunga ang imo nga na y. So, d sin theta liwat equals to m plus 1/2 ng lambda. So, d sin theta equals 0.067 alindio equals to 0 plus 1/2 na 450 times 10 to the negative 9 nanometer. So, d equals to 0.001924 meters. And to get the lines per meter, so you simply use the d. So, d refers to the meters over line. So, to get the lines per meter, just do the reciprocal. So, that's 1 over d. So, that's 1 over 0.001924 meters. And you will get 597.2 lines per meter. Okay? So, kung nasa, be sure to read the problem very carefully. And hindi ma-confuse sa problem. Okay? Questions? None. So, nagaling nga PowerPoint. Sige lang, may kaso. So, your quiz. Muna siya ang inyong nga quiz. So, I'll be creating a Google form. You write your name kung na given sa form. And simply your answers to these two questions. So, mabutan lang ko the answer to number 1 and answer to number 2. Write the answer only. Okay? So, pagka-answer nyo, dyan mabalaan nyo managya po ng score. But hindi ko pag i-reveal ang answer as long as wala pa naka-answer tanan. Okay? So, this is 20 points. So, kung correct, that's 10 points. I mean, 10 points each. So, dito tanan. Correct 10. Kung sala, 5. 10 or 5. Okay, wrong answer, 5. Okay? So, take a screenshot. This will be the end of our presentation. So, be sure to watch this video. Kaya hindi ko nipag-ibutang sa form. Pari lang sa video ang quiz. This will be submitted Friday. If you have any questions, just ask me, PM, so on. Okay, thank you very much. See you next meeting.